You've tried effort, strategy, and speed, yet something still feels out of order. Come, what if the struggle is not from lack of prayer, but misplaced priority? What if God was never meant to be added, but placed first? Many delays are not spiritual attacks, they are signals. Life resists movement when alignment is missing. Putting God first is not loss, it is advantage when God is first. Clarity replaces confusion. When God is first, effort stops being wasted. This message will confront what you've been avoiding. Listen carefully, because one correction can realign everything. Many people say they want God in their lives, but very few understand what it truly means to put God first. Putting God first is not about adding Him to your plans. Come, it is about allowing Him to become the foundation upon which every plan is built. When God is placed second, even with sincerity, life becomes fragmented. But when God is first, order begins to emerge naturally. Priority is a law. Whatever takes first place governs everything else. This is why effort alone cannot compensate for wrong priority. A person may work hard, pray passionately, and remain busy, yet see little progress because their life is arranged incorrectly. When the order is wrong, that the results will reflect that disorder. Putting God first corrects the order, and once order is restored, progress becomes easier. Putting God first is not a statement, it is a position revealed by daily choices. It is seen in how time is allocated, how decisions are made, and what is consulted before action is taken. Many claim God is first, but their choices reveal otherwise. God first means His will has the highest authority, even when it challenges convenience, logic, or comfort. When God is first, alignment takes place. Alignment is powerful because it removes resistance. Struggle often continues not because effort is lacking, but because alignment is missing. Many delays in life are not punishments, they are indicators of misplaced priority. When God is restored to His rightful place, clarity replaces confusion and peace replaces anxiety. Putting God first requires trust. Trust is needed because results are not always immediate. The temptation to rearrange priorities arises when outcomes are delayed. But faith is proven in the willingness to remain aligned even when evidence is absent. Those who put God first before seeing results are the ones who experience lasting transformation. There is also a restructuring that happens when God is first. Relationships change, decisions become wiser, and boundaries become clearer. This restructuring may feel uncomfortable initially, but it is necessary. Disorder resists correction, but correction is what produces stability. Over time, what once felt restrictive becomes liberating. Sustained devotion is what makes this position permanent. Putting God first is not a one-time declaration. It is a daily commitment. Consistency builds depth. The more consistently a person prioritizes God, the more their life reflects wisdom and direction. This is not because problems disappear, but because the person is now positioned correctly to handle them. Ultimately, putting God first simplifies life. It removes the need to chase many things because focus is restored. When God is first, other things find their proper place. Struggle decreases, not because life becomes easy, but because life becomes ordered. In that order, progress becomes inevitable. Many people assume that progress in life is primarily the result of effort, but effort only produces results when it is applied in the right order. Priority determines outcome more than strength, intelligence, or activity. When priorities are wrong, even sincere effort can lead to exhaustion without fulfillment. This is why some people work harder than everyone else, yet see minimal progress, while others with less visible effort experience consistent advancement. The difference is not always discipline or talent, it is placement. What comes first controls what follows. Priority is the framework that gives meaning to effort. Effort without correct priority is like pouring water into a broken container. The energy is real, the sacrifice is real, but the structure cannot hold what is being poured into it. When God is not first, effort is scattered. Time, resources, and focus are divided among many competing interests, leaving nothing strong enough to produce lasting fruit. Putting God first brings structure to effort, ensuring that what is invested produces results that endure. Life responds to order before it responds to intensity. Many people increase intensity when they should correct order. They pray louder, work longer, and push harder, yet the results remain inconsistent. This happens because intensity cannot replace alignment. When God is placed first, alignment is restored, and effort begins to cooperate with divine order. Suddenly, the same effort that once produced frustration begins to yield progress, because it is now flowing in the right direction. Priority also determines what has authority in decision making. Whatever comes first becomes the reference point for choices. When God is not first, decisions are often driven by fear, pressure, emotions, or urgency. This leads to reactions rather than direction. But when God is first, decisions are filtered through wisdom rather than impulse. This does not remove challenges, but it reduces unnecessary battles caused by wrong choices made under pressure. Another reason priority matters more than effort is sustainability. Effort fueled by ambition alone eventually leads to burnout. Effort anchored in divine priority is sustained by purpose. When God is first, strength is renewed internally, not just managed externally. People who prioritize God often appear calm under pressure because their source of strength is not limited to physical or emotional capacity. Their effort is supported by inner stability. Priority also governs results because it shapes values. Values determine what is acceptable, what is negotiable, and what is non-negotiable. When God is first, integrity, patience, and obedience become central values. This protects a person from shortcuts that produce short-term gains but long-term damage. Many visible failures are not due to lack of effort, but due to compromised values driven by misplaced priorities. Putting God first also brings clarity. Confusion often comes from trying to pursue many goals without a central anchor. When God is first, clarity increases because direction becomes clearer. Effort becomes focused instead of scattered. Focus multiplies effectiveness. A focused life with moderate effort will often outperform a distracted life with extreme effort. Effort responds to what the heart truly prioritizes. People naturally invest more energy into what they value most. When God is genuinely first, obedience, prayer, learning, and discipline stop feeling like burdens and start feeling like necessities. This internal alignment removes resistance, making effort less stressful and more purposeful. Ultimately, effort is a tool, but priority is the compass. A tool without direction can cause damage or waste. A compass without movement achieves nothing. But when the compass is correct and the tool is used properly, progress becomes consistent. Priority determines where effort goes, how long it lasts, and what it produces. When God is first, effort is no longer wasted. It becomes productive, meaningful, and enduring. Many people speak about putting God first as a phrase, but few understand that it is not something you say. It is a position you occupy. A slogan can be repeated without commitment, but a position demands alignment. Position determines influence. Whatever holds the highest position in your life shapes your thinking, governs your decisions, and defines your reactions. When God is first only in words, life remains unchanged. When God is first in position, transformation becomes inevitable. A position is revealed by what you consult first. In moments of pressure, uncertainty, or opportunity, the first reference you turn to exposes what truly holds first place. If fear speaks louder than faith, fear is first. If convenience overrides conviction, convenience is first. God being first means His will, His word, and His perspective are the primary reference points before any action is taken. This is not about perfection, it is about direction. Position is also seen in how time is allocated. Time is the most honest indicator of priority because it cannot be pretended. People find time for what truly matters to them. When God is first, time with Him is not treated as optional or negotiable. It becomes a foundation rather than an addition. This does not mean ignoring responsibilities, but it means ordering them around divine alignment rather than squeezing God into leftover moments. Another way position is revealed is through obedience. Obedience proves position more than emotion. Many people feel deeply about God, but feelings do not always translate into submission. When God is first, obedience becomes a response, not a struggle, even when instructions are uncomfortable or unclear. The position of God in the heart settles the matter. Disobedience often reveals competition for first place rather than lack of faith. Putting God first as a position also affects how success is defined. When God is not first, success is measured by speed, visibility, or approval. When God is first, success is measured by alignment, peace, and sustainability. This shifts the pressure from performance to faithfulness. Life becomes less about proving something and more about becoming someone shaped by divine purpose. Position determines resilience. When challenges arise, whatever is first becomes the source of stability. If achievements, relationships, or finances hold first place, instability follows when those things are shaken. When God is first, there is an inner steadiness that remains even when external conditions change. This does not eliminate pain or struggle, but it prevents collapse. The position of God in a person's life also governs boundaries. Boundaries protect destiny. When God is first, certain doors remain closed regardless of pressure or opportunity. These boundaries may seem restrictive, but they are protective. Many regrets are the result of choices made when God was consulted later instead of first. Putting God first as a position requires intentionality. Life naturally pulls attention in many directions, and without deliberate choices, God is slowly moved from first place to a supporting role. Maintaining this position demands daily alignment through reflection, prayer, and obedience. It is not maintained by emotion, but by conviction. Ultimately, slogans inspire momentary excitement, but positions produce lasting change. Words can motivate, but alignment transforms. When God is first in position, life begins to reorganize around that truth. Decisions become clearer, effort becomes focused, and direction becomes stable. This is why true transformation begins not with what is said, but with where God is placed in the heart and in the structure of daily life. When God is placed first in a person's life, alignment begins to take place. And this alignment has the power to restructure life without forced effort. Many people try to fix their lives by addressing symptoms, changing habits, or increasing discipline. Yet they ignore the deeper issue of alignment. Alignment is about positioning yourself correctly in relation to God's will. And once that position is corrected, many struggles begin to resolve themselves naturally. Life functions by order. Disorder creates resistance, confusion, and unnecessary struggle. When God is not first, life becomes disjointed because different desires, pressures, and voices compete for control. This inner conflict spills into external experiences, affecting decisions, relationships, and productivity. But when God is first, competing voices are silenced and direction becomes clearer. Alignment removes internal conflict, and with it, much of the struggle that people mistake for spiritual warfare or hardship. Automatic restructuring happens because alignment influences perception. When God is first, the way a person sees opportunities, challenges, and relationships changes. Choices that once seemed attractive lose their appeal, and paths that once seemed difficult become necessary. This shift is not forced. It is the natural result of a changed reference point. When perspective changes, behavior follows without constant self-correction. Alignment also restructures priorities. Many people feel overwhelmed, not because they have too much to do, but because everything feels equally important. When God is first, hierarchy is restored. Some things move to the forefront, others fall into their proper place, and some are eliminated entirely. This brings peace because clarity reduces mental and emotional overload. A life aligned with God is not necessarily less busy, but it is less chaotic. Another way alignment restructures life is through relationships. When God is first, relationships are evaluated through purpose rather than emotion alone. This does not mean detachment or coldness, but discernment. Certain connections weaken, others strengthen, and new ones emerge. This process can be uncomfortable, but it is essential for growth. Many stagnations in life are sustained by relationships that no longer align with where God is leading a person. Alignment also affects decision-making speed and accuracy. When God is first, hesitation caused by fear or confusion decreases. Decisions may still be challenging, but they are made with confidence because they are rooted in alignment rather than impulse. This reduces regret, which is often the byproduct of decisions made out of urgency instead of wisdom. Over time, life becomes more stable because fewer corrective cycles are needed. Another powerful effect of alignment is efficiency. Effort becomes more productive because it is no longer wasted on distractions. When God is first, energy is directed toward what matters most. This is why some people experience progress with less stress once alignment is restored. They are not doing more. They are doing what is necessary. Alignment removes unnecessary labor. Alignment also reshapes desires. Many people struggle with consistency because their desires conflict with their convictions. When God is first, desires begin to adjust. This does not happen instantly, but gradually. What once felt like sacrifice begins to feel like wisdom. What once felt restrictive begins to feel protective. This internal change makes obedience sustainable. Automatic restructuring does not mean absence of challenge. Growth always involves stretching. However, aligned challenges build rather than drain. When God is first, even difficult seasons serve a purpose. Pain is not wasted, and waiting is not empty. Everything works within a larger structure of meaning. Ultimately, Alignment is powerful because it addresses the root rather than the branches. When the root is aligned, the branches follow. Putting God first realigns the foundation. And once the foundation is correct, the structure adjusts itself. This is why alignment with God does not just improve life, it reorders it from within, producing stability, clarity, and forward movement without constant struggle. Delay and struggle often confuse people, causing them to question God themselves or their calling. Many assume that when life becomes difficult, it must be a sign of opposition or failure. However, delay and struggle frequently function as mirrors, revealing misplaced priorities rather than divine absence. When God is not first, effort increases but results remain inconsistent, creating frustration that feels spiritual but is often structural. Struggle is not always an enemy. Sometimes it is a signal. Life resists movement when order is wrong. Just as a machine produces noise when parts are misaligned, life produces tension when priorities are out of place. People respond to this tension by pushing harder, praying louder, or trying new strategies. Yet the resistance continues because the underlying order has not been corrected. Struggle persists until alignment is restored. Delay works in a similar way. Delay is not always denial. It is often instruction. When something is delayed, it forces reflection. It exposes what truly matters and what has been unconsciously elevated above God. Many delays exist not because God withholds answers, but because premature access would damage the person. When God is not first, success can magnify disorder rather than fulfill purpose. Misplaced priorities distort expectations. People begin to measure progress by speed instead of alignment. This creates pressure and impatience. When outcomes do not appear quickly, discouragement sets in. But speed is not always progress. Progress is movement in the right direction, and direction is determined by priority. Without God first, speed often leads away from purpose even when it looks impressive. Struggle also reveals dependency. When God is not first, people depend heavily on their strength, connections, or understanding. When these fail, anxiety increases. But when God is first, dependency shifts. The person learns to lean on divine guidance rather than personal control. This shift often happens through struggle because struggle exposes the limits of self-sufficiency. Another reason delay reveals misplaced priorities is that it tests motives. Waiting clarifies intention. People discover whether they desire God or merely His benefits. When results are delayed, shallow motivations are exposed. This is not to shame, but to refine. God uses delay to purify focus, ensuring that pursuit is rooted in relationship rather than reward. Struggle also slows people down long enough to notice what they have been ignoring. Busy lives often hide misalignment. Activity can mask disorder. When struggle interrupts momentum, it creates space for evaluation. This is why some of the most significant realignments happen during difficult seasons. Pain forces honesty. It removes distractions and brings clarity. When priorities are corrected, struggle often decreases, even if circumstances remain challenging. The difference is internal. Peace replaces anxiety, clarity replaces confusion, then strength replaces exhaustion. This does not mean challenges vanish, but they become manageable because the person is now aligned with God's order. Misplaced priorities create unnecessary battles. Correct priorities reduce them. Delay also teaches patience, which is essential for sustaining future success. Without patience, even answered prayers can become burdens. Come, many people lose what they prayed for because they were not prepared to steward it. Delay protects by preparing the person, not just delivering the outcome. When God is first, waiting becomes purposeful rather than painful. Ultimately, delay and struggle are not punishments, they are invitations. They invite reflection, realignment, and growth. When God is restored to first place, life begins to move with less resistance. What once felt like opposition often reveals itself as correction. And correction, though uncomfortable, is one of the greatest expressions of divine care and guidance in a person's journey. Here is Explain 5, written exactly in the flow and style you want, no subheadings and no formal ending sentence. Around 640 words. Putting God first requires trust, especially when there are no visible results to support that decision. Come, many people are willing to trust God when outcomes are quick and evidence is clear. But true priority is tested in seasons of silence. Trust is not proven by excitement. It is revealed by consistency when nothing seems to be changing. This is where many people rearrange their priorities, not intentionally, but subtly, moving God from first place to a backup plan. Trust before results feels risky because it removes control. Human nature prefers assurance, timelines, and visible progress. When those are absent, anxiety pushes people to take matters into their own hands. This often leads to compromise, impatience, and decisions driven by fear rather than alignment. When God is first, trust replaces the need for immediate validation. The person continues in obedience, not because it feels rewarding, but because alignment matters more than outcomes. One of the reasons trust is difficult is because delay creates doubt. Does not always mean disbelief. Sometimes it means fatigue. Repeated waiting can wear down resolve. Making alternatives appear attractive. This is where misplaced priorities resurface. People begin to adjust their standards, lower their convictions, or pursue shortcuts, convincing themselves that God understands. But trust holds the line even when justification feels logical. Trust before results also exposes what truly sustains a person. If motivation depends on progress, consistency will collapse during delay. But when motivation is rooted in trust, perseverance becomes possible. Trust anchors identity. The person no longer measures worth by success or failure, but by alignment. This internal stability prevents emotional extremes and reduces desperation. Another dimension of trust is surrendering timelines. People often agree with God's will but resist His timing. They want the destination without the process. Trust means accepting that preparation often takes longer than anticipation. God's timing is not designed to frustrate but to form. When God is first, waiting is not wasted. It becomes a refining space where character, patience, and wisdom are developed. Trust also reshapes expectations. Instead of demanding specific outcomes, the heart becomes open to transformation. Sometimes the greatest result of putting God first is not external change, but internal maturity. This maturity allows a person to carry future blessings without being destroyed by them. Many answered prayers become burdens because person was not prepared for the responsibility they carry. Choosing trust over visible results also protects peace. Anxiety thrives where control is prioritized. Trust releases control, and in doing so, releases peace. This peace does not come from knowing what will happen, but from knowing who is leading. When God is first, uncertainty becomes bearable because direction is secure. Trust is not passive. It is an active decision to remain aligned despite pressure. It requires daily reinforcement because distractions constantly invite compromise. Each day presents choices that either strengthen trust or weaken it. Over time, these small decisions shape spiritual endurance. Trust grows through repetition, not emotion. When God is first, trust becomes a lifestyle rather than a reaction. It influences how opportunities are evaluated, how delays are interpreted, and how setbacks are handled. The person stops chasing outcomes and starts honoring alignment. This shift produces resilience that cannot be shaken by seasons. Ultimately, trust before results is what separates surface devotion from deep conviction. Anyone can prioritize God when blessings are visible. Few maintain that position when obedience seems unrewarded. Yet it is in these unseen seasons that spiritual depth is built, alignment is strengthened, and future stability is secured. Putting God first requires trust, especially in seasons where there are no immediate results to validate that decision. Trust is most meaningful when evidence is absent. Many people are willing to prioritize God when life is improving, doors are opening, and prayers are being answered quickly. That the real test of priority comes when obedience seems unrewarded and consistency feels costly. In such moments, trust becomes the deciding factor that keeps God in first place. Trust before results challenges the human desire for control. People naturally want clarity, timelines, an assurance that their effort will pay off. When those are missing, fear begins to speak loudly. Fear encourages self-preservation, shortcuts, and alternatives that appear practical but weaken alignment. Trust resists this pressure by choosing obedience over immediate relief. It is the decision to stay aligned even when logic suggests changing direction. One of the reasons trust is difficult is because waiting exposes vulnerability. Waiting strips away the illusion of self-sufficiency and reveals dependence. Many people are comfortable trusting God with outcomes they cannot achieve, but struggle to trust Him with timing. They agree with God's will but resist His process. Putting God first means accepting that delay does not mean neglect, that silence does not mean absence. Trust also confronts impatience. Impatience often disguises itself as wisdom, urging people to be realistic or take responsibility. While responsibility is important, impatience rooted in fear leads to decisions that compromise long-term purpose for short-term comfort. Trust holds steady, refusing to move ahead of alignment. It understands that arriving early can be as damaging as arriving late. Another aspect of trust is choosing faithfulness over excitement. Many people confuse spiritual growth with emotional highs. When emotions fade, they assume something is wrong. But trust is built in ordinary, repetitive obedience, showing up consistently, praying when it feels dry, and choosing integrity when no one notices are acts of trust that anchor priority. These unseen decisions shape spiritual strength. Trust before results also reshapes identity. When outcomes define worth, delay becomes threatening. But when alignment defines worth, delay loses its power. The person no longer measures life by achievements alone, but by faithfulness. This shift stabilizes emotions and reduces anxiety. Confidence becomes rooted in relationship rather than performance. Their trust protects against comparison. In seasons of waiting, watching others' progress can create frustration and doubt. Comparison pressures people to abandon alignment in order to compete. Their trust resists this by recognizing that different journeys require different timelines. Putting God first means honoring your process without resentment toward others. Trust also deepens intimacy. When results are absent, the relationship becomes the reward. Prayer shifts from demanding answers to seeking understanding. This deepens spiritual sensitivity and maturity. Many people want blessings without closeness, but trust values closeness even without blessings. There, choosing trust requires daily reinforcement. It is not a single decision, but a posture maintained through repeated choices. Each day presents opportunities to either reaffirm God's position or gradually demote it. Trust grows through consistency. Not intensity. Over time, it becomes a quiet strength rather than a dramatic declaration. When God is first and trust is sustained, results eventually follow, but they arrive to a prepared heart. The waiting season shapes capacity, character, and discernment. What could have destroyed the person earlier now strengthens them. Trust before results ensures that when manifestation comes, it does not replace God, because God was never placed second during the waiting season. Sustained devotion is what turns the decision to put God first into a lasting position rather than a temporary experience. Many people begin with passion, strong intentions, and emotional commitment, but without consistency, those intentions fade. Devotion that is sustained over time reshapes life because it builds depth, stability, and spiritual maturity. Putting God first once can inspire change, but sustaining that priority produces transformation that lasts. Consistency matters because life is repetitive. Growth does not happen in dramatic moments alone. That is formed in daily patterns. When devotion is sustained, it creates rhythms that anchor a person regardless of season. These rhythms protect alignment during success and preserve faith during difficulty. Without sustained devotion, priorities shift subtly, often without awareness, until God is no longer first in practice. Sustained devotion trains the heart. The heart learns what to seek instinctively. Over time, seeking God becomes a reflex rather than an obligation. This internal training reduces resistance to obedience because alignment becomes familiar. Many struggles with discipline are not due to weakness, but unfamiliarity. When devotion is consistent, obedience feels natural rather than forced. Another effect of sustained devotion is clarity. Direction becomes clearer when attention is consistently placed on God. Sporadic devotion produces confusion because guidance is received inconsistently. When God is sought daily, sensitivity increases. Decisions are made with greater confidence because the heart recognizes divine leading more easily. This clarity reduces mistakes that come from rushed or emotionally driven choices. Sustained devotion also builds spiritual endurance. Life inevitably brings pressure, disappointment, and delay. Without endurance, people react impulsively to these seasons. Endurance is not developed in crisis. It is built beforehand through consistent devotion. When God is first daily, faith is strengthened gradually, making it resilient when tested. Another important aspect is that sustained devotion guards against pride. Success often tempts people to shift priorities, replacing dependence on God with confidence in themselves. Consistent devotion keeps the heart grounded, It reminds the person that progress is not solely the result of effort or wisdom, but alignment. This humility preserves long-term stability. Sustained devotion also produces discernment. Discernment is the ability to recognize what aligns with purpose and what distracts from it. When God is sought consistently, discernment sharpens. Opportunities are evaluated beyond surface appeal. This protects from choices that appear beneficial, but ultimately lead away from purpose. Devotion that lasts also reshapes desire. Over time, the heart begins to want what aligns with God. This transformation reduces internal conflict. When desire and conviction align, peace increases. Many people struggle because they want things that contradict their values. Sustained devotion resolves this tension by gradually reshaping desire. Consistency also produces spiritual authority. Authority is not loudness or visibility, it is weight. People who sustain devotion carry depth that is recognized even in silence. Their words carry wisdom. And then their presence brings stability. This authority is not claimed, it is earned through faithfulness over time. Sustained devotion simplifies life. When God is consistently first, unnecessary complexity is removed. Decisions become easier because the standard is clear. Distractions lose power, focus increases. This simplicity does not eliminate challenges, but it reduces confusion, making progress more direct and less exhausting. Ultimately, lasting advantage in life does not come from moments of passion, but from seasons of consistency. Sustained devotion keeps God in first place, not just in intention, but in reality. Over time, this devotion shapes character, strengthens faith, clarifies direction, and produces a life that reflects stability and purpose through every season. Putting God first is not a motivational idea, but a governing principle that determines direction, stability, and outcome. When God occupies first place, effort becomes productive, alignment replaces struggle, and clarity overcomes confusion. Delays reveal what needs correction, trust sustains obedience before results appear, and consistent devotion turns momentary decisions into lasting transformation. A life ordered around God does not escape challenges, but it moves with purpose, peace, and resilience. When God remains first through every season, everything else finds its proper place. And progress becomes both meaningful and enduring.